Welcome to the session breakdown for Live and Learn. I haven't put out a cover song in quite some time just because I've been working on my own original stuff, and that needs to take some priority because if I don't, then that album will never come out. And thankfully, I can say that it is coming out. Well, we're not done yet, but now we're making progress at the right speed. It's a good time. Anyway, Live and Learn was a cool song to do. It was a long song. This one, I was not exactly 100% happy with my performance. The original one from Crush 40 was great. And let's listen to just the vocals. Not to mention there was a buttload of vocal tracks and parts.
Can you feel life moving through your mind? Looks like it came back from the... Yeah! Can you feel time slipping down your spine? You're trying to ignore. Yeah! But you can hardly swallow your fears and pain when you can't help but follow. It puts you right back where you came.
Cool. Don't mean to stop you right before the choruses, but let's talk about it. On the lead vocal, I do the same treatment I do on all my lead vocals. And I have a multi-band compressor. I haven't done this actually in the first bunch of songs, but I like to just switch things up. Now, actually, I've moved on from this. Well, I'll still use this, but I'll do more saturation with some of the Slate stuff. But I like to always switch things up and see what I like. And I never try to do everything too much. But anyway, I'm using multi-band compression on the lead vocal starting. I'm stepping pretty hard on the mid-range and the high mids. This is just to keep it really balanced and solid. This is where like all the activity is. There's not much going on here. And this is just air. So this really needs to be stepped on for it to sound really smooth and whole. If I were to give any recommendations, I always make sure that the attack on the upper mid is fast and the release should be fast. The release should be faster than the mid-range. The mid-range you want to kind of stomp on and let the release be slower just because you don't want a lot of movement in the mid-range. But if you have it too much in the mid-highs, then your intelligibility kind of goes out the window and you lose some, not sparkle, but you lose some of the thing that makes it so you can understand what people are saying. The next plugin is the Howard Benson plugin, which is one of my favorite plugins. There's not too much going on. It's the Howard Benson vocal channel with effects preset. I changed the input till it hits yellow. Same with the output till it hits yellow. I didn't really change much after that. I think I've added the tube warmth. I have the space pretty far down, the reverb down, and just light echo. When you're using reverb, you want to think of it less as putting something in a room, but you want to think about it as putting something forward in a mix or making it sound further away. So when you have a vocal or any sort of instrument in a mix, and you're using reverb, the more it's going to sound like it's actually further back in the mix. You're going to add some mud, but it's going to make it just kind of like move back in the mix as if you're turning the volume down. And if you want it to be more closer towards the listener, then you can use much less reverb or don't even use it at all and go to a delay. Sometimes I'll only use delay instead of reverb if I really want it to be up there, up and close. All right. And then I'm using the C1 compressor. I'm using this as an upward compressor, and upward compression really helps bring out some of the low end in a track, and especially in a vocal, and helps bring out some extra detail. It's really helpful. The lead vocal double, I'm actually using this in a different way. I'm selectively using it raising the volume just in parts where I want to hear, just where I felt like the lead line was a little bit weak. So you can see these automation lanes. I really was just listening. And once it got to a part where I was thinking that it was sounding weak and it just needed some support, I raised it up. It's going in the choruses, full volume. But in the verses, it's just going in select parts. And then at the end, I think it's just from the bridge all the way to the last chorus, it goes full out. And I'm using the same plugins as I do on the lead vocal. And I'm automating the volume using trim. I don't like to automate the actual volume line just because it takes the control of this out of your hands, and I hate that. So I want to always be able to turn up and down the volume. So the harmony tracks, they're really simple. There's nothing going on there other than some light compression or heavy compression. Like, there's nothing light about the compression on those. But that's it. And just a little bit of reverb. Like I said, reverb, use things when you want them to put them back. So I want the backing vocals to be a little bit back. And I have them panned a little bit, 20 to the left, 20 to the right. And the live and learn parts, which we'll get to, are there. I have a throw delay up here, which is sending it to here. So
Can you feel life moving through your mind?
so you can hear what it does there. All right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, I have, for this delay, I actually copied and pasted a part that I wanted.
You're right back where you came.
And so that's the K. And then that's how I EQ'd it, just so I only want the frequencies that sounded cool. I don't have a better way of describing it. So the live and learn chorus, let's hear it.
Live and learn, hanging on the edge of tomorrow. Live and learn from the works of yesterday. Live and learn, if you beg or if you borrow. Live and learn, you may never find your way. Whoa, yeah. Can you?
So the whoa, yeah. I couldn't do it as good as the guy on the original track. I probably could have, but I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't nail it, and I got too tired of doing takes of that. So that's what I came up with. So for the rest of the track, it pretty much just chugs along the same way. There's not too much. The verses and the live and learn parts, the courses are copy pasted. So let's listen to the break.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of like 80s, like, oh yeah. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really 80s anymore, though. That's what people in the 90s and early 2000s said about that kind of singing. I don't know if people refer that as 80s singing anymore. Yeah. Okay, and we have this part, this bridge.
There's a face searching for so far and wide. There's a place where you dreamed you never find. Hold on to what if. Hold on to what if.
Let me tell you, this track would not sound as good if I didn't double everything. I was way too lazy to pitch correct any of the tracks, and there's some sour notes. But I tell you, if you're out there and you're doing tracks, you're doing singing, and you have a harmony that you can't make it sound right, and I'll just do a double, and that might just fix everything. Not only that, is like it makes it so you don't have to pitch correct. Sometimes, like if you're doing like pop music, you got to pitch correct everything. But I'm doing a cover from a game from Sonic the Hedgehog that's mostly rock, and no one really cares if it's like perfect. People just want to hear the song that they remember from the video game. And that goes for a lot of different cases and instances of music. You don't need to pitch correct everything. Like I said, unless you're like working on like a pop album and this is like for a major label and all that, and sure, yeah, you got to go through all the vocals and make sure they're all perfectly in tune.
Live and learn, hanging on the edge of tomorrow. Live and learn from the works of yesterday. Live and learn, if you beg or if you borrow. Live and learn, you may never find your way. Live and learn, hanging on the edge of tomorrow. Live and learn from the works of yesterday. Live and learn, if you beg or if you borrow. You may never find your way.
Man, that was really out of tune.
Live and learn. Yeah, 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 yeah. Live and learn. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, that's it. Nothing too big going on. I sent all the vocals to the vocal bus, which has a bus compressor, which is the Slate FG Gray. I forgot. I think it's this mimics the SSL bus compression. I could be wrong. And then it goes, I'm sending it to actually a virtual tape machine to give it some tape saturation. It's a really nice, sort of very warm blanket. You can consider it like a warm sonic blanket on there. It brings out some of the low, mids, and with like really nice, pleasing distortion that you don't really hear. It's not like guitar amp distortion. And then I just make sure that nothing gets through the roof with the JST clip. I don't even know if I'm using this thing right, but I really like using it and it does its job. Anyway, so that's it. I hope that you really enjoy these things as much as I do. And I'm sorry that it took so long to get another cover song out. After I'm done with the album, I'm going to start making my covers have original music as well, so I can put them on Spotify. And yes, I'm going to put out The Only Thing I Know for Real and a Soul Can't Be Cut and all the Metal Gear songs on Spotify, but I am going to make my own original cover music for them. I'm not going to be using the official ones because that's why I can't put them on Spotify. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later, and until next time, thanks. Bye-bye.